Congressman Peter King from New York has been holding approximately 28 hearings on how terrible Muslims are.
You know, you played this clip for me earlier today, the one we're about to play, and I came in and said, why are we just playing a clip that's 3 years old?
Because he's been doing it for 3 straight years, and it is not an old clip. He did it again!
It's identical. I can't believe he did the same thing again.
So, seriously, I think he's on to his 5th hearings. So he goes on Fox. Every one of these hearings, which are identical. How bad are Muslims? How radical are Muslims? How scared do we have to be of Muslims? You know, we played a clip of Congressman Al Green from Texas yesterday saying, wait a minute, do you think that there could be radicals in every religion, like Christianity, etc.? He asked the witnesses, they all raised their hands, yes. Then why are the hearings only about Muslims? Nobody has an answer. It's because Peter King can go on Fox and Friends and say this.
Chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, New York Congressman Peter King joins us. Congressman, are you on a witch hunt?
Brian, that is such absolute nonsense. No, what I am very concerned about is that while the overwhelming majority of Muslims are good people, the fact is, even though Muslims are 1% of the population, almost 90% of the terrorist crimes are carried out by the Muslim community, and there are not enough people in the community willing to step forward and speak out against this and to cooperate with law enforcement. So what I want to do is, by having these hearings, I've given reasonable, moderate Muslims the opportunity to step forward, to emerge, and not be any longer controlled by radical groups like CARE or be influenced by the New York Times. They can come forward and they can really speak out, and they can take the steps that have to be taken to cleanse their community of this evil of Al-Qaeda.
So, several things there. One, Muslims must be cleansed. Okay, that's great language. I like that.
Moderate Muslims are under the influence of the New York Times.
Is that right? Yeah, very, very powerful in the Muslim community.
Yeah.
And then number 3, following up on that, is the main point of what he's saying here, which is, well, most Muslims haven't done terrorism, but they are guilty by association because I think they have not come out and denounced Al-Qaeda enough, which, by the way, is not true. In fact, here's a stunning number for you. When they polled the different religions, the religion in America that denounces violence most is Muslim, okay? Islam. 92% saying there should never be any violence in it, etc. Christians actually say, well, under some circumstances, yeah, violence, okay? Same with Jews, etc. So now, it's not true, it's not based on facts, but what he wants to do is say, even if they didn't do it, they're guilty, because I'm saying they're associated with it and they haven't denounced it thoroughly enough, which is also, by the way, a lot. Right.
When that guy, Brian...
Kilmeade,
when Brian asks him that question, you know, are you on a witch hunt? Right? He's like, oh, it's ridiculous, Brian. I mean, please. I mean,
it's a softball.
It's the biggest softball question there. But the fact of the matter is, there's a real question to be asked there. The last time somebody talked like this, who pulled percentages out of their ass on a national stage, like Peter King, because he's making stuff up, unfit for office in the United States.
I'm going to give you the real numbers in a second.
It was Joe McCarthy, who sat there and went around, who went on a witch hunt,
right,
looking for communists, and would say there were 157 known communists in the Department of State and the Department of Defense. He's making stuff up. His 90%. I mean, I know Tim McVeigh was a Muslim. I know that, and the 9/11 guys, those guys were Muslim. What's he talking about? And what's a terrorist-related crime?
So, now let's get to the actual numbers. And these numbers come from the National Counterterrorism Center, the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Response to Terrorism, and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Since 1995, well, Peter King said 90% of terrorist acts in this country are Muslim, right? Wrong again, Bob. 56% are right-wing extremists. Eco-terrorists, they don't get enough press.
Right. Go after eco-terrorists. That's right up your alley. That's fine.
30% Islamic extremists, only 12%.
So what he would say is, look at that. Of religious groups, the only one on there are Muslims. So,
look, there's a lot of ways to twist it. And then, look, in reality, of course, the severity is really important, too. Obviously, 9/11, incredibly large, severe, etc. That was Muslim extremists. So we understand that. On the other hand, as Ben pointed out, Timothy McVeigh, incredibly significant, etc., and is a right-wing extremist, not at all Muslim.
And we don't, the thing is the hearings. I mean, the fact of the matter is, as a country, should we be engaging in a process that gets moderate Muslim leaders, or the overwhelming percentage of Muslim leaders in this country, to be comfortable working with law enforcement to stop terrorist attacks? Yes. right?
Yeah.
And here's who does that: law enforcement on a regular basis. We don't need a congressional hearing, a witch hunt by a guy unfit for office in the United States of America, Peter King.
And so it's funny you say that because the FBI now coming out and saying the NYPD infiltrating, honestly, illegally. They don't add this part because they don't want to, ruin their relationship with the NYPD. Infiltrating Muslim groups that happen to be innocent has destroyed our ability to work with Muslims that cooperate with us to get us incredibly important information about Muslim extremists. Because now they feel like they're all targeted because NYPD is infiltrating innocent Muslims and mosques and schools and universities and camping trips. So it's hurting our job to track terrorists.
Beginning of the show, we read these percentages of Republicans who have all this misinformation. I mean, Peter King's dumb. He's dumb. I mean, because my hunch is he actually probably thinks he's doing something good. On some level, he thinks he's helping. But of course, what he's doing is hurting the very thing that he wants to try to assist in.
I think it's a combination of things. I think him being dumb leads to him being hateful. And him being hateful, is buttressed by him being dumb.
Right, but I'm saying what's true is that he wants to stop terrorism. That's true.
Nah, only certain kinds of terrorism.
Okay, let's presume.
Because you remember, of course, the one guy in the House who has the most terrorist connections,
except for the Ireland,
is Peter King.
Right, except for that part. Except for the obvious, the sort of leading terrorists of the 20th century. Except for them, right? But I mean, if what he wants to stop is attacks on Americans, terrorist attacks on Americans, then literally his hearings hurt the only thing that I'll grant him he's interested in stopping.
Right.
Well, then you're dumb.